Hola, familia. My name is Rosa Angel. Thank you for joining this Instagram Live for Free Money Fridays, where we talk about scholarships. Our scholarships are open, and we have webinars to help you. So this is a little preview of what's going to happen on the webinar on February 15th. So let me add Esther, who is Director of Research Innovation. Just going to join in. And then I'm going to also add in Hector Grande, who's a recipient. Hi, Esther.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm on the USC campus, so shout out to my fellow Trojans. Fight on.
So nice. I'm jealous. It's beautiful. Hi, Hector.
Hey, how's it going?
And Hector, where are you located? Because Esther's
I
in...
Yeah, I'm in Boston. I go to Boston University.
I'm
Are you
in
in Boston
Boston too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
I
at
didn't know.
the U right now. And
Oh, that's so funny. We'll have to
yeah.
meet up in
Yeah, no,
person.
for sure. Yeah, I don't even know that. I thought all of y'all were like in California. So I don't even.
We were, and I
That's
just
pretty cool.
recently moved here this summer. So yeah, I'm excited. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. The
Well,
weather's been
now
really
everybody
nice.
knows. Oh,
I
right now
have
it's
to
like 50
move
degrees.
out of the shade to show you the beautiful weather over here.
Yeah, we're so jealous.
Actually,
Yeah,
in Boston right now, it's 50 degrees, so
that's
Yeah.
warm.
That's
that's
like summer
warm.
weather, yeah.
But I'm so
Awesome.
happy you can join us, Hector and Esther. As I mentioned, this is a quick preview of our webinar that's happening on February 15th on how to build your resume. And as I mentioned, Esther Gonzalez is Director of Research Innovation for SHIP, and Hector Grande is a SHIP member who was a recipient this previous year. And I just have a couple of questions for Esther because she's our expert. And then Hector will give us some of his insight on how his application process went. So Esther,
Sounds
for
good.
you,
Yes.
why do I need a resume to apply for scholarships?
So, when we collect scholarship applications, we take a holistic perspective in reviewing our applicants. So it's not just about who has the highest GPA. It's not just about who's doing the most things, right? And so the resume is one component that lets us know what you're doing in school that may not be in a classroom necessarily. Any work experience that you may have, which shows professional development, any unique projects that you're working on, any research experience that you may have. And so that is why we collect the resume.
And you said you add job experience. Is the layout similar to like a resume that I would create for a job, essentially?
Yeah, I think that really depends on what level of your education you're in, right? So I think for most undergrads, it's very similar. I think that once you get to the master's and doctoral level, if you're looking to pursue academia or research, then your resume kind of shifts from your traditional one-page resume to maybe a multi-page CV. So it really depends on where you're at in your education and what your ultimate career path is.
Very nice. That's something I did not know. That's very helpful. And then who reviews these resumes?
So our scholarship review committee will review the resumes. That is comprised of almost 100 volunteer professional members, and we try to match the level of education for the reviews. So professional members that have completed an undergraduate degree and are working in industry will likely review undergraduate resumes. For graduate and PhD programs, we try to have reviewers that have completed those degrees so they know what to look for.
Awesome. And I was going to ask this next question, but you kind of already touched on it. And I'll still ask it. How will this help my scholarship application? And like you said, it's a holistic view instead of
Mm-hmm.
just you're responding to the answer questions.
Yeah, I mean, your transcript doesn't really tell us much other than what path are you taking in terms of what classes are you taking, what's your major, that kind of thing. Your essays, you can only capture so much information with a limited number of words. And you don't want your essays to be like a rundown of everything you've ever done in life. right?
Yeah.
So a resume is a good place to try to list and capture all those things in a succinct way.
Awesome. So Hector, you are a recipient and you've gone through the SHIP application process. Can you give us some tips on how it was for you, or how you went about it in applying and creating your resume?
Yeah, I know for me, luckily, I was involved with SHIP at Northeastern, so that's where I did my undergrad from 2015 to 2020. And now at BU, I'm not as involved with SHIP, but things have also kind of pivoted. There's not as much of a graduate presence here. Um, but at my time at Northeastern was very, very helpful because we had a ton of people come in and review resumes through SHIP. We would have like people from GE, people from Raytheon come in and kind of just talk to us and kind of show us like what a good resume should look like. So I've been lucky to have eyes on my resume from the beginning. So I think that's kind of number one, trying to share with your resume as many people as you can. Because the more as you get on it, the more feedback you'll get, the more feedback you'll get, the better polish you'll be able to be. And yeah, just like Esther was mentioning, it's very important to kind of have a really good resume because not only for the scholarships, but also just getting that out of the way a lot earlier kind of
Mm-hmm.
soothes you and puts you in a better spot for later years because you don't want to be like a senior and then kind of thinking, oh, I should probably now start to make my resume. And at that point, that's very chaotic. But yeah, number one would be start taking that early, and also to definitely get as many people to look at it as possible because those two things helped me out a lot. Because it's your time to shine and your time to kind of show that you are very well rounded, not
Mm-hmm.
just that you're just good at school. You know.
What was the hardest part of selling your resume, Hector?
I think for me, both on paper, the difficulty is trying to fit everything I want to fit on there, but also make it look like it's organized. I think that's where I'm struggling right now because now that I'm a graduate student, it's I have a lot more stuff to put on this piece of paper than one sheet can permit. So you have to be very, very decisive and explicit with what you want to convey with your resume, and then hope that through either essays or like through either interview questions, you're able to kind of show and talk about the other things you don't have on your resume. So I think on paper, just trying to make everything look very, very nice and fitting what you want to fit on there is very important. But then selling your resume when you're being vocal with someone is definitely the best thing. Try to make it like a story. Try to tell a story because at the end of the day, it's your story, and it's
Yeah,
honestly like one of the good things, one of the good opportunities that you're able to kind of talk about yourself other than just that piece of paper.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
great tips. Thank you for sharing. Esther, I don't know if we have any questions in the chat, um, but if you want to give a little shout out to the webinar coming up so we can
Yeah,
wrap this up.
so our upcoming webinar, we will have a speaker, William Gonzalez. You may have seen him at some of our events previously. He's spoken for us, and he is a professional member. He has been a scholarship recipient and been on the committee to review scholarships, so he can kind of show both
Both
sides of
sides.
that coin, if you will. And I just want to touch on something that Hector mentioned, and that is that there is a specific format for our resumes, and it's not something I particularly like as a creative person. But no matter where, I think when you start out your career, you feel like you don't know what, like there's nothing to put on there. And then you transition into this phase where Hector's at, which is like you have so much information you don't know what to leave out. And so
Mhm.
I would say that the webinar will help and support go through that process, regardless of where you are in that spectrum. And I think you have a question.
I
What is
just
one
saw it.
thing in your resume writing experience that you think most people forget about or don't put enough emphasis on?
It's a good
I,
question.
yeah, I think from my experience, I've noticed that you kind of don't just want to say what you did, more like you also want to kind of blend in the impact. Because
Yeah.
then they kind of see the whole bigger picture. Like there's a difference between, because for example, like I worked at Target during the pandemic, the very early pandemic, so over the summer. So yeah, I stocked 100 boxes, let's say. But
Hmm.
if I say that I stocked 100 boxes, like of, let's say, COVID supplies or stuff like that, that just creates a little bit more of a story. And that sometimes can be the difference between you at times getting a call back for, like, let's say, a job interview, or you just getting, I don't know, just a little bit more questions directed your way, which I don't know. the more you get to talk about yourself, I think the better. So I think the more you get to explain your story, the better too.
Yeah. I think one last thing is, I think that as we create, it's kind of one of those things that, like, as you're writing it, you have a certain perspective, but you forget that the audience is somebody else. So I think it's really helpful to look at different resumes before you start writing yours, because you will learn, like, you can look at a resume and feel completely lost. And there's others that you will look at and everything just flows. And so learning from the perspective of a reviewer or somebody who's viewing or analyzing your resume, what helps for a flow, and you want whoever the viewer is, to have a very organized and easy process in looking through your resume. You don't want them to be confused or feel anxiety looking at it, and it can happen very easily for the most accomplished people, because it usually happens when you have a lot of stuff to put on there.
I can feel you just want to put everything on there, and then it just gets a little overwhelming and chaotic. But you want to showcase how important everything was to you and how it made you be the person you are today. So I can see where that can be a struggle. But if you join the webinar coming up on February 15, Esther and William Gonzalez will definitely be on there to help you and guide you in the Building a Resume webinar. So thank you, everybody, for joining. If you have any more questions, as always, you can contact us. There's a specific scholarship email, which is scholarships@ship.org. Or you can just send us a message on Instagram, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you so much, Hector, for joining. I will probably see you around Boston. So happy to meet you. And thank you, Esther, for joining. And we'll see you all next week for another episode of Free Money Friday. Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Cool.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.